when you see me giving this recording where I'm talking about a topic, I'm trying to make a point that I want to get you to think. This is not about me running my mouth off about what I know. I already know it. It's me it's me basically telling the world politely, you watching this, America has sort of lost its moral compass, if you will, and people think they're smart because they know how to go on a search engine, and they watch too much TV. And so I like to make people think. So last, I'll wrap up by saying this, and this is the last time I'll talk about myself. Not because I'm shy, but because what's the point? Like, who really wants to know except maybe one or two people who listen? Your spouse is pissed off at what I'm spewing out, and that's fine, but after this, you probably won't have any follow-up or retort, is that. So this all started, I started writing papers on this in 2004, when Congress at the time had approved $87 billion to fund the war in Iraq, and then that spilled over into Afghanistan, and I was offended that the U.S. taxpayer had to fit the VIG. So I wrote a letter to my congressman at the time, District 19 in Florida, which got redistricted. Today, District 21, but at the time it was Florida 19, and Robert Wexler sat on the Middle Eastern subcommittee on Middle Eastern Affairs, and I wrote a letter to his office, and then I wanted I wanted to speak to the people on the subcommittee about maybe taking a collection from countries in the Middle East to finance the war efforts, because the American people at the time had enough problems after September 11th that I didn't want Americans to have to fit the VIG for a war to defend at the time, to liberate Middle Eastern countries, namely the Iraqi people, etc., and what turned into the war that's still going on. So I take you back to 2003, and then after that, the other thing that got me doing this was, I've talked about it once before, was when I was working at National Financial Partners in the same parking lot in the same part of Palm Beach, in the Wyndham Hotel, a famous reporter had put out a book, and he was doing like a book signing and a little talk, and I went over there because I had lunch hour to kill, and it was only like $15, and I thought I'd listen to him speak. And at the end of his session, he said, okay, time for Q&A, and everybody started talking about Watergate scandals from 1972 and President Nixon's resignation and blah, 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 and I took offense at some of the stupid questions. And finally the speaker said, you know what's great today? The Huffington Post and all these blogs and the media is so omnimedia today. You have media from different areas. Again, this is going back now, 2010. The media is so great today, and people have this abundance of information, and I raised my hand and I started an argument about how the media torments people they like or dislike, and they hide behind laptops. And it doesn't matter if something's right or wrong. All media publishers have to do is at the bottom put a little disclaimer that says the person writing this is not necessarily a representation of our media company. The views expressed here are the rights of the writer. And that's how you give a legal disclaimer that says basically this person can say whatever they want. I'm just the media company. I don't back them. Don't sue me for libel. Okay? And I got into this big argument with this guy, and he said, sir, excuse me. You have a terrible attitude. And I said, you have a terrible attitude, and I'm going to research it and get back to you. And then they shut my mic off. And that was 2010. And I remember I went home and I called the director of the Nixon Library, and I said, I would like to email you just so you know who I am and you know that I'm a real person. I had a difference of opinion with so-and-so, and I want you to, you know everything about that. You've read all the archives and listened to all the footage. Can you tell me if I'm right or wrong? I seek the truth. And he wrote me back in an email, and I kept it confidential. But the point is, I always learned ever since then, do my research, and if I want an answer, I call up the person. The worst that can happen, even present day, when I call the Tampa Times or I call the New York Times news desk, I don't hide behind social media, and I don't hide behind like an email. Some people are not available, right? So if I want to call Ted Turner, or I want to call some millionaire, if I want to call CNN, senior editor of the political desk, they're not going to return my call a lot of times. It's not like they're sitting in a room. And in the publishing world, just so you know, like even the local paper, when I call the Miami Herald, They're not sitting in a room waiting for my phone call. Some people respond on social media. A lot of people say, email me, because they want to have a paper trail. But I still go to the source of what I'm trying to do. And when you see these videos, you see me talking about a topic, it's after I've researched it, or I've reached out to an elected official, or I've contacted the person who wrote an article. Now and then, editors call me back. I've had a lot of professors say, hey, I'm not interested in what you're saying, or it's not a research topic that's on my radar. But I've had an editor one time from the National City Business Journal, just to give you an example. I wrote him a letter about one of his reporters put together a story, and I thought it was fraudulent by a big insurance company buying people's data. He contacted me and said, do you have any suggestions, because we're really struggling with readership. I hope you didn't abuse my reporter too much. Reporters are very sensitive. He was the editor over the whole National City Business Journal, and he said, if you had suggestions, maybe we can discuss it on a conference call. I see your point, but just don't blame these reporters. A lot of them are 25 years old and they don't understand. Their job is just to get a story out. They're trying to do their best. And I said, I understand that. I understand you're a very famous paper. XYZ is what I told him. So please understand, when I make these videos or I'm talking about something, a lot of times I'm shooting the video and you're getting the byproduct. You're getting me talking on a topic, but really I'm I'm using the video to send it to a board of directors or a board of county commissioners or political candidates, campaign manager, or I'm sending it to a newspaper editor and saying, why don't you put me on your show? You just have to keep in mind, a lot of people don't want to hear what I'm saying. It's offensive. A lot of people are going to say, what are you kidding me? I can't win. One of my close friends said, well, very few people are going to want to tangle, because if they destroy you, you're not famous enough where they're going to sway like public opinion. And if you wrangle them, they just got cake thrown right in their face. They just got proven that they're a clown. What's in it for anyone to try to argue with you? They risk a big chance of looking like an idiot. And they risk a very little chance of you saying, oh no, Corey was wrong, and now all of a sudden, like, you're influential and you're going to make the whole world agree with this person, you see? So that's my struggle. But again, going back to the premise of why I took a minute to explain this, so don't ever make the assumption that I don't or have not spent 22 years studying not only political theory and writing papers on it, or why when I go to an academic advisor, and I have done so at 3 different universities, and said, well, I want to sit for the PhD, and when they ask why, and I say, just so that when I'm talking, people will be more intimidated, people will respect what I'm saying, and more editors will publish what I have to say. And all 3 of them, who don't know each other, who are not at the same university, were like, that's totally the wrong reason. It's going to cost you well over 6 figures, and at the end of the day, unless it were the Ivy League, best of the best school, I have problems getting published. I don't think it's going to serve you, Mr. Weiner. So keep that in mind. When you can still question me or argue or not agree with me, I'm just saying, when you question my credentials to talk about voter behavior patterns or political theory or applied economy or socioeconomics, that's my training. On top of that, I do a lot of experiments. When I was at university, they teach you how to actually go into the real world and do an experiment. As long as you control X and Y variables, if you keep repeating the process, you can collect a sample and you can have data. If anybody has any questions or comments or wants to ask anything or anything I left off, by all means, like I said, soon I'm going to be setting up the mechanism to where you can still watch the videos on social media, on a stream, but I'm always going to be available by telephone so that you can anonymously call up and say what you have to say, or have a discussion, or ask me a question, or scream at me, or whatever you want to do. But this way you remain anonymous and your name is not all over social media. And this way, even if we disagree on something, your privacy is protected, which is the goal.